Good afternoon. Today is Monday, September the 18th. This Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Griffin.
Here.
McCormick.
Present.
Bishop.
Here.
Conwell. Hairston.
Here.
Casey.
Present.
Valencia. Santana. Spencer.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The first piece that is up is a Cleveland City Council piece. I don't see her. They'll come back. Let me go straight to ordinance number 876-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Department of Finance on behalf of the Cleveland Municipal Court to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services through the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for the court's 2023-2024 Specialized Dockets Program, and authorizing the director to enter into one or more contracts with various agencies, entities, or individuals to implement the grant purposes. I believe we have representatives from Municipal Court here. Please introduce yourselves. I know you, but let the listening audience know. All right.
Good morning, President, and to the council. My name is Russell Brown.
Speaking to the mic if you could, Mr.
Yep.
Brown. Thank you.
Excuse me. My name is Russell Brown. I'm Court Administrator with the Cleveland Municipal Court. Here on behalf of our Administrative and Presiding Judge, Michelle Early. And we are looking to renew a grant that we've been consistently receiving from the Adams Board in the amount of $200,000. And it goes toward treatment and services for various clients that we have on our specialized dockets. Those specialized dockets are our drug court, led by Judge Lauren Moore, our mental health docket, led by Judge Suzanne Sweeney, our veterans docket, led by Judge Charles Patton, and our human trafficking docket, led by Judge Marilyn Cassidy. It's of the $200,000 that we're seeking to receive. Each of those dockets get approximately either $55,000 or $45,000 for their docket services.
Okay, great. Ms. Kenny, anything else you want to add?
I'm Michelle Kenny. I'm the Finance Director for Cleveland Municipal Court. And we also have here with us that's sitting in the back. She's our new grant administrator. Her name is Maxine Nunn. If she can just wave her hand. She's new to the Cleveland Municipal Court. We received this grant on an annual basis. It started out about $180,000. They increased it because that's something they wanted to do for the court. So now we've been getting $200,000 over the past few years to provide services to clients that come through those 4 special dockets with Cleveland Municipal Court. This grant does not require a match. So it's all money that we can use to provide services.
Thank you. All right, we have Mike Polensik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whoever can answer, and I appreciate you both being here. What type of demographic information do you have as it pertains to the actual client base? You have it broken down by zip code, by ward. What do you have?
We have some data. I cannot tell you exactly what it is at this moment.
Yeah.
I can go back, pull it out from our probation department that administers this, and we can give you the information that we have.
I think certainly, first of all, I'm in support of it, totally. But I'd like to, as in our efforts of council to drill down deeper on programs and initiatives and things that we're attempting to do here, whatever information you can supply to us based on, male, female, the ward, the census tract, so we can get a better idea of where your client base is coming from. because I think that would be helpful to us for the city council to understand, get a better picture of what's going on in the city with regard to this and the assistance that you're attempting to provide here, which is very important. So that's the only thing I would ask, Acting Chair, to the court, if you can provide that to us. And not only that, I would also make a motion that on a quarterly basis, Mr. Chairman, that we receive that information as well, the entire body. So I'll make that motion at this time as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're looking for an amendment?
I'm going to make the amendment.
All right,
That
so-
we receive that information on a quarterly basis for all members.
I'm looking at our Assistant Law Director. Do you have clarity on the amendment?
Mr. Chair, Councilman Polensek, what type of report are you
Broken,
anticipating?
that we receive information broken down by ward, by census tract, whatever demographic they can provide to us, male, female, et cetera, with this, embodied within this, this legislation. If you look at it, they're to help people. There's the veterans docket, there's the human trafficking docket, the mental health docket, the drug court, whatever information they can provide to us on a quarterly basis.
So a quarterly report of available demographic
Yes.
information on this program for our Assistant Law Director?
Right, and it looks like we have acquiescence on the municipal court side. You're comfortable with that?
Mr. Administrator,
Yep.
okay, great.
Yes.
We have a second from Councilman Hairston. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the amendment?
Griffin. McCormick.
Yes, yes.
Michelle. Yes. Caldwell. Harrison. Casey.
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
Santana.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
All right, the amendment carries.
Thank you.
Councilman, is that it?
That was it.
That's what I go with Council President.
All right, thank you so much. Any other questions regarding ordinance number 876-2023? Councilman McCormick.
I just want to, Mr. Chairman, thank the court. I've been working with Mr., is it Negre? Is that the best? Okay.
Yes.
On a couple cases, when I was connected with him, he's been extremely helpful on these issues of the mental health docket. So I just wanted to thank you all both and your team for work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 876-2023 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you both.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say I want to thank Ms. Kenny. She's a loyal member of the 8th Ward. I appreciate her engagement. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Go Browns.
All right, there you go. All right, next ordinance is ordinance number 878-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Human Resources to employ one or more consultants or firms of consultants to provide professional services necessary to analyze healthcare providers' benefits and claims and evaluate proposals received for benefit management series for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew exercisable by the Director of Human Resources. Director, welcome. This is your first time, I believe, at the table.
Good afternoon, Council President. Yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Matt Cole, Director of Human Resources.
Okay, and you come from an extensive background with the state highway or state or
Ohio Turnpike.
Ohio
Let's just say,
Turnpike
yeah,
and
20 years.
also county and a couple of other places?
Yes, sir.
All right, some of us do our research.
I
Welcome.
see. That's
Congratulations
good.
and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to working with you.
You as well. Thank
Okay. Please proceed, Director.
you. Good afternoon, Council President. My ordinance is to authorize me to enter into a professional services agreement for consulting to analyze healthcare providers' benefits and claims, to evaluate proposals received for benefit management services for the Department of Human Resources. The amount is not to exceed $150,000 annually. The term for these services would be December 1, 2023 through December 1, 2024, with the options to renew until December 1, 2025 and until December 1, 2026.
Okay.
Our current vendor is the Fidelity Group.
Okay. So this is an RFP to go out for another bid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long would a bid be? For every 3 years or how long?
Mr. Council President, I believe we do them for a term of 1 year with 2 one-year renewals.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how do you evaluate or vet the proposals, or how do you evaluate the current vendor to see if they're performing well or not performing or anything like that?
Through the, to Council President, I don't think we really have any measuring mechanisms in place. It's just, I would say, a case-by-case basis, because they help us to obtain healthcare vendors. They do our proposals, dental, vision, the Caremark, things of that nature. So I don't know that there's really a way to evaluate
Okay.
per se, but we could put something in place.
Okay. I just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we are getting good vendors through the whole process, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have Councilman Polisic,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, first of all, welcome aboard as well.
Thank you.
The healthcare, as we all know, is a major reason why people are attracted to public service jobs, because we see that healthcare has been cut in the private sector substantially. And it's something that I always felt very strongly about, providing the best healthcare that we can for our citizens, especially when I had 5 small children. And you realize how important healthcare is when one gets hurt or has an issue. So I just want to make sure, do you have an idea what we spent on healthcare last year in the city?
Council President, Mr. Polensek, I would have to get you an exact number
No.
on that. I'm sorry.
I knew it was a substantial amount of money, a very substantial amount of money. So it's important that we get the biggest bang for the buck here, and that we are able to provide the best health care we can for our citizens, for our employees, and yet keeping costs down for the citizens, our taxpayers in the city of Cleveland. So as we go into the budget rounds, I just want to make sure, because this contractor they're to make recommendations to us as who should we sign with on the bottom line, correct? For healthcare services. Now that will take in, besides physical, is that also for prescription, the whole shebang?
Yes, sir.
Okay, prescriptions, eyeglasses, the whole shebang. Okay, so they will make recommendations to us. When is this due by?
Mr. Polensek, the current contract expires the end of November, so we'll be issuing the RFP soon.
So they're going to make a recommendation before the budget as to who we're going to contract with?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. It's a side note. All right, anything else, Councilman Polisic, or you good?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
All right, Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, how come we need to go outside City Hall to do this? Why do we need a consultant, and do we have the capacity to do it in-house?
Council President, Councilman Casey, consultants are truly experts in this field, where they can take their knowledge and expertise to pick the best for the city of Cleveland, do all the evaluations, pull the numbers that we don't have access to, and then make a recommendation based on that. They also have close relationships with all of these providers, and are very well versed in what they're going to be telling us as a recommendation.
All right, so we don't have the ability in-house to do this. This is something that needs to go outside in order to find the best deal.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. Director, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm curious through the Chair to the Director, do we consider proactive health measures in these types of conversations? For example, paying for gym memberships, wellness, things like that. I mean, it seems like, you're talking a lot better than I could say, but those types of efforts are better for health, productivity, but also cheaper than severe hospital care. So how do we consider that in these conversations?
Council President, Councilman McCormick, I do believe that should be a large part of the conversation, and I think it's also in the way in which we put the RFP out, that we're asking for certain things, in addition to conversations that we may have with the healthcare consultant in negotiations with the actual providers. So preventative measures, gym memberships, we could look at pharma rebates, all sorts of things that they could actually identify with those providers that could actually cut costs for the city, as well as offer a better plan for our city employees.
Great. Happy to hear that's part of the conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 878-2023 stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, next up is ordinance number 893-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into an amendment to lease agreement number 2017-23 with Mid-City LTD for the lease of office space for the Cleveland Police Commission located at 3631 Perkins Avenue for one additional year. Chief, directors.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Suzanne DeGennaro. I am the Commissioner of Real Estate, and this legislation authorizes the renewal of the Community Police Commission's lease at 3631 Perkins Avenue for an additional year under the same terms and conditions as before. So the rent remains the same. The rent is currently $14,487 per year, plus utilities and trash removal. So we were pleased that the landlord didn't increase the rent when we requested a renewal. The Police Commission leases Unit 4C within the building. They had been leasing a smaller space, but back in 2021, they moved to this larger space.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else from the panel want to make any statements? Okay, anybody else got any questions? Councilman Bishop?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to the Commissioner, you say the rent was $14,000 annually, and that was an upgrade from last year. You had a smaller space last year?
Actually, the space changed in 2021 when they moved from Unit 3A2 to Unit 4C. The Unit 3A2 was 2,500 square feet. Their current space in Unit 4C is 3,177 square feet. So
Okay.
the rent was $11,400 a year, and it went up to $14,487. It
Okay.
was just an increase on a per square foot basis.
Okay, so do we have a square foot price?
Yes, through the chair to the councilman, the square foot, the price per square foot is $4.56.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Councilman Brian Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. Is there plenty of space? Is the police commission completely now up and staffed and fully functional?
Through the chair to the councilman, I'll defer to Mr. Goodrick to answer that question. When I visited the space, it seemed to be sufficient space.
Through the chair to the councilperson, we are adding our, we have one position left to fill. We just finished interviews today, and that will bring our staffing up to 7 people. We do still have a capital budget to move to a different location to better be able to accommodate the public and have more meetings there, larger in size, and if needed, future staff expansion. But for due to other priorities of the commission, we decided to defer our capital project and looking at additional spaces to move to until next year. So,
Mr. Chairman, to Chief Abunama, with their capital outlay, since they're not moving, does that go back to the general fund, or does it stay? I know this is set up a little different, but does it stay with them, or does that money that's not spent come back to the general fund?
So through the chair to the councilman, that money has been encumbered for the purpose of the move to a new space. So it sits there until it gets taken away affirmatively. It's not like unencumbered cash in the general fund that rolls back into the cash balance at the end of the year.
And is this, Mr. Chairman, to the director, is this a yearly thing, or was this just a one-time
Through
thing?
through the chair, I believe this was appropriated 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe,
So they
for
haven't
a
spent
move,
it
and it just,
two-
yeah, it
it's
hasn't.
2 years?
The move hasn't happened yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 893-2023 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you. Next up is ordinance, this is a councilman, I'll come back to this at the end. Next one is ordinance number 898-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the issuance and sale by the City of Cleveland, Ohio water pollution control revenue bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $45 million to pay costs of improving the water pollution control system, authorizing a second supplemental trust agreement and other documents. Documents and actions related to the water pollution control revenue bonds and authorizing and approving related matters.
Yep.
Chief.
Thank you. Through the chair to council, I will ask Ms. Ruby to describe the bond issuance for water pollution control, and we're happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Council, this legislation is for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $45 million in water pollution control bonds for additions, extensions, and improvements to the system. It will also cover any deposits to a reserve fund and pay the cost of issuance. And the legislation authorizes all the various documents that go with the bond deal. The last time we issued any new money bonds for water pollution was in 2016, which was their first issuance ever.
Okay. Chief, anything else you want to add? You good? All right. Councilman Casey, anybody else want to add anything, ask any questions?
I have a
regarding this? Councilman Palencic.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the director, to Ms. Ruby. Are there a list of projects associated with this?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, I think they have a general capital improvement plan that they have determined for the next number of years, and then they will take those
So,
projects out of that, in addition to however, they've been paying other.
Yeah, then I'll ask the chair, Mr. Chairman, to Brian, do we have that list of projects?
Mr. Casey.
Mr. Chairman, I think we'll refer to the director
Okay.
for his project.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we're issuing a substantial amount of money here for debt, so do we have a list of projects associated with this?
Thank you, through the chairman, to the council members. So there's the 10-year capital improvement plan that we
Okay.
outline regularly, approximately for water pollution control, $130 million in need. A not to exceed number of $45 million is preliminary, right? We currently are anticipating, even last week's discussions, around 30 would be our target for the issuance if everything works out with the rates, right?
For this year or coming year?
Typically, we're looking first quarter 24.
Okay.
It takes that long.
Yes.
Once we have the authority, and then all of the projects will need council legislative authority.
Okay.
So we have to come back.
So those list of projects will be submitted to the Utilities Committee?
Through the chairman of the council member, you have to approve it.
Yeah, but I mean, but they're going to be coming to us, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Each individual project through the chairman of the councilman has to come to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I would note in the 5-year or 3-year capital improvement plan that was distributed earlier this year, it does include detail about each enterprise fund and each of the 3-year projection for the projects, and I believe they're sorted by year. So there should be, in that document, a good list of 2023 and 2024 expected capital projects needed for WPC and the other utilities.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Spencer.
Thanks, Council President. Through our chair to the director, wanting just to clarify, well, first of all, this is obviously an important investment. Wanting to clarify what the, for lack of a better word, the burn rate is. How long would these dollars expect to last once authorized and bonds are sold?
Through the chair, I can answer that. Any tax-exempt debt that we borrow must be spent within 3 years of issuance of the bond. So if we issue the bonds in, say, January, we will need to spend all of that by January of 2027.
Okay, thank you. I think that was my only question. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we have any other questions? Okay, hearing no other questions, ordinance number 898-2023 stands approved. And you might as well stay at the table, Director. Thought you could escape. All right, next ordinance is ordinance number 899-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of water revenue obligations in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $90 million for the purpose of paying costs of improvements to the waterworks system, authorizing supplemental indentures, agreements, documents, and actions related to the water revenue obligations, and authorizing and approving related matters. Director, Chief.
Through the chair, just like with the last one, I will defer to Ms. Ruby to describe the issuance.
The summary has pretty much described it. This is not to exceed $90 million in water revenue bonds for improvements to the system. These will be in addition to any other funds that they have. We have not issued new money bonds for water in about 10 years. And this will also cover any issuance costs and any required deposits to reserve fund, which we don't have at this point, or credit enhancement, and all the various other documents and requirements that are needed for the issuance of the bonds.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have Casey, and then I have McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to our directors, I just want to reiterate, just because we're passing these bonds, that this does not affect our water rates. I just want to put it out there. This does not affect the water rates at all. Our water rates are set, and that nobody's water bills are going up, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. To the chief of the director, how do we match or, come up with any revenue or grants or otherwise from the federal government infrastructure law with our expenditures of bond revenues for infrastructure? Through the chair, is it, we're going to go for every other dollar first and then, or are these dollars potentially ineligible for that? How do we have that holistic conversation?
Chairman, to the council member, very good question and something council approves in our annual budget for water, specifically $85 to $90 million in capital. That is on top of the lead service line replacement, about $30 million this year, and then the state revolving loan fund for the Richfield Water Tower Pump Station, which is another $20 million. So those are eligible for the ones that we currently know about. These dollars, obviously, if we have the authority to do it, we have to then go test the market and see how much we're going to borrow, and certainly, or the earmark, the congressional earmark that council was very supportive of, both for water pollution control and water, right? So we're not going to do those projects. We're going to put them all together. I think the essence of your question, would these dollars make it ineligible for that project if we have other funding mechanisms? And the answer is no. As long as it's appropriate under both opportunities, then we're clear. We can make the fix.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else regarding 899? Councilwoman Spencer.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I think I'll follow up on Councilman McCormick's question. I know that we did, through the chair earlier in the year, talk about the capital expenditures using cash on hand. So I want to make sure I have an understanding of sort of why the bond issuance in addition to.
Through the chairman to the council members. So we've talked about it for a number of years, going back into the market with Cleveland Water. The projects are becoming exponentially more expensive, as we talk about regularly at the table, but also the needs of the very vast system that we are responsible for. So the timing looked right. A big part of the hesitation was the pandemic, and to see where collections were after an unprecedented stopping of the severance process. We had to make sure that financially it made sense. And finally, here now, we're confident that it is the good time to re-enter the bond market.
Great information. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 899-2023 stands approved. Please sign on. There you go. All right, the next ordinance is ordinance number 896-2023 by Councilmember Spencer, Harrison, and Griffin, and by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development and the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to enter into an agreement with the Cleveland Public Theater or its designee, providing for the exchange of real properties. Ms. DeGennaro.
Thank you, Council President. We have a presentation for you. Is there a way
Here
to
it is, right
advance the
here.
slides? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
96.
So I like to say with this legislation, the city isn't losing a parking lot, we're gaining a parking lot. And I'll explain to you how that works. So the city owns a parking lot. Let's see, I'm doing something wrong here, I guess.
Turn it on the side.
Oh, this way? Oh, got it. Okay. There. Okay. Sorry, I'm not great with
You don't have the magic touch she's going to give it.
Guess not. Okay, thank you, sorry. Okay, so the city owns a parking lot on Cleveland Public Theater's campus. It's still not advancing here. Sorry, Inez. Okay, that's okay. Do you, hopefully there's copies of maps on your tablet. So I'll just explain to you. The city owns a parking lot.
Is which?
Yes, exactly. The parking lot that's outlined in blue is owned by the city, and that is in the middle of Cleveland Public Theater's campus on Detroit Avenue near West 65th Street. Cleveland Public Theater owns a parking lot on the north side of Detroit, directly across the street from their campus, which is often mistaken for a municipal parking lot. So Cleveland Public Theater approached the city, and they requested that we sell them our parking lot on their campus, and in exchange for that, they would sell us their parking lot on the north side of the street. So we shared the costs of appraisal, and, oh, thank you. So we split the cost to have the properties appraised. The Cleveland Public Theater lot is slightly larger. It's got 48 spaces. It's .4467 acres, and it's got dual frontage on both Detroit Avenue and West 61st Street. So their lot appraised for $580,000. Our lot is an interior lot. I'll show you the pictures. This is the city's lot, and it's an interior lot. And then you can see Cleveland Public Theater's lot. There's frontage on both Detroit and West 65th. So our lot has 36 spaces. It's .4061 acres, and the appraised value was $460,000. Based on the difference in appraised value, the city will actually pay Cleveland Public Theater $120,000 for their lot, which is the difference in appraised value. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Council, any questions? Councilman Hairston?
I do.
Spencer?
Why would we do that?
Thank you, Mr. President. No real questions. I know that this is a priority of Councilwoman Spencer to get this done, so we relieved it from DPS to be heard today. She and I did have, we had a little dialogue around the amounts and appraisals. Our lot, which seems to be in a little better condition. I know the size is a few, spots smaller, and why the large gap in the appraisal price as we discussed. And other than that, it was really no, and where would the $120,000 be paid from?
Yeah.
Where is that money coming from to pay for the additional amount that's due after the swap?
Through the chair to the councilman, the difference, the amount will be paid with restricted income tax funds.
Oh, okay. And any reason we chose that pot of money?
I am not sure why that particular source was identified, but I could find out and get back to you through the chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Polinsky.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilman Polinsky. I got Councilwoman Spencer,
Okay.
and then Councilman Polinsky.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much to Chairman Hairston for relieving this from DPS, and we have a big legislative session ahead of us this fall, so appreciate this piece being heard today. This has been a very long time coming. This is sort of a historical phenomenon, the reason these lots were developed in the way they were at the time that the Gordon Square Arts District existed as a nonprofit organization. They developed the lot outlined in yellow as a nonprofit. The city used bond funds in 2009 to develop the lot outlined in blue. It has never worked well for Gordon Square Arts District. The visitor experience, it has never worked well because the public lot, which is the blue outline lot, appears to be a private lot, whereas the yellow outline lot, which is a private lot, appears to be a public lot. So it's been disorienting for visitors, and I think, I know that Municipal Services and Properties heard Ordinance 817 this morning. I think we're hearing it this afternoon up for passage tonight, and this really goes to the importance of having a parking strategy overall in business districts like Gordon Square, where you experience parking behaviors ranging from cars kind of circling lots and spaces, sort of like sharks swarming in the ocean. I don't know why that analogy's coming to mind on a Monday afternoon, but it just did. So, there's a lot of parking behaviors that are not good for visitors. In addition, a lot of people who work at some of the businesses kind of tend to fill up the visitor spaces. It's been a long time coming, and there's been a lot of thought given to parking strategy in Gordon Square, and I think this is a really positive strategic move for the city. I would just have one, and I would ask for my colleagues' support. The only thing I would add through the chair to the commissioner as a question is, there is a law governing why this had to be done in an appraisal-based process, correct? And that these were independent appraisals. Were they done by the same appraiser, and were you surprised by the results of the appraisal?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, yes, there is a charter requirement that when the city sells or purchases real estate, it is to be at appraised fair market value. We did use the same appraiser just because there were some economies of scale in doing that, less expensive than engaging two separate appraisers. I was maybe a little surprised that there was a difference, but once I looked at the appraisal reports and saw, particularly that the appraiser noted the dual frontage, which is pretty important, and the fact that it's bigger and has more spaces, the CPT-owned lot, it made sense to me.
Thank you. And I would just add that I can't remember if this was in the appraisals or not, but at this point in time, unfortunately, surface parking is badly needed in Gordon Square. There is a scenario in the future in which the lot outlined in yellow on the north side could become a development site. That could happen. There are no plans for that, but I think that's another reason why this is a strategically valuable acquisition for the city, if I understand correctly.
Through the chair, I would agree.
So, again, asking for my colleagues' support and happy to help answer questions beyond those that the commissioner is responding to. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Councilman Polinsky.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. to my honorable colleagues, to Ms. DeGenero, I'm a little confused there. I'm trying to better understand this. So the lot in yellow is privately owned at this point by the Detroit Shoreway, correct?
Through the chair to the councilman, it's owned by Cleveland Public Theater.
Okay, excuse me, Cleveland Public Theater. And the lot in blue is a city lot.
Correct.
And there's no meters or anything in that lot, is there?
No.
Okay. So as I'm looking at the map, also on that side of the street, it looks like there's a proliferation of other parking lots. Are those for private buildings, or those are, anyone can park in there?
Through the chair to the councilman, those are private. And yeah, I agree with you. I noticed that there were a number of parking lots in the area, but yeah, they're all for private businesses.
And so it looks like there's 3 additional lots. Then on the north side, or I'm assuming that's the north side, I might be wrong, because I'm trying to get oriented. I know we're Detroit. So it looks like another lot in red, that's outlined in red to the north there. But what I still don't understand is why would we buy the lot if it's for parking already? Why, we're not going to install any meters. We're not going to derive any revenue from it. So explain the flip. I'm not clear on the flip.
Sorry.
You want to try?
Through the chair.
I'll follow, get your point.
Actually, I think our thought was, you know, it makes more sense from, as Councilwoman Spencer pointed out, from a visitor's standpoint. You know, people visit the area and they just don't understand that this parking lot that's in the middle of Cleveland Public Theater's campus is a municipal lot, and so oftentimes they don't park there. You know.
Is there signage indicating it's a municipal lot?
There is some signage. Well, at least Cleveland Public Theater on the north side, they do have signage, but I think people just don't notice it. And so parking is already sort of an issue in this neighborhood anyway, the lack of parking. And
okay.
So it's sort of to clean that up. But also Cleveland Public Theater hosts outdoor events, and so they intend to use this lot for their events.
Okay,
So
that's
it's to
the city
support them.
lot. You're talking about the city.
Yes, the city lot that will be
Okay,
sold to them.
but then again, I'm asking. So if we are going to, they're going to take ownership of the blue lot,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to take ownership of the yellow lot, and we're asked to pay how much?
$120,000 is the difference in appraised value.
And Councilwoman Spencer, who has she would like to have a point of view.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Spencer.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a point in response to Councilman Polenzic's question. So the ordinance that is up, that was passed by Municipal Services this morning, and I believe is being heard by Finance this afternoon and up for final passage tonight, 817, accompanies another ordinance related to parking that does upgrade the parking rates that the city can charge. And there is a scenario in which municipal lots in Gordon Square would become metered and would begin to derive revenue. I am fully supportive of that. It actually leads to a better visitor experience and more balanced parking behaviors. You don't have people sitting in a lot for 8 hours for free. So by having a larger lot with more spaces that is more strategically located, much more visually evident, I think the city is actually poised to begin to have a cash flow from that lot on the north side of the street. And in fact, I'll go on record with my comments and saying, as soon as the division of parking is ready, I'd love to work on paid parking in Gordon Square. It's time.
Okay. I just didn't understand why we would have to pay that amount of money for it if it's going to be a municipal lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at some point, there could be meters installed in there.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to I'm trying to understand the logic and the methodology behind this flip of the two lots, because I would think that if they're there, people would assume that they're just public lots to park on, because both of them are right now you pay nothing, right?
Through the chair, that's correct. You pay nothing, but there may be a future opportunity.
Okay, and this will be part of our parking this yellow lot then will become part of our overall parking portfolio.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any more questions regarding ordinance number 896-2023? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 896-2023 stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, Akita. Let's get this Granicus out the way. All right, ordinance number 861-2023 by Councilmember Griffin, an emergency ordinance authorizing the clerk of council to enter into an agreement with Granicus, Inc. to renew or purchase software subscriptions for an integrated legislative management system for Cleveland City Council.
Council President and to the council members, Granicus is our legislative management software solution, and we're just going into our renewal. This is a proprietary software that we use currently, and that's all we're doing. We're going into another 3 years.
Okay. This is basically Legislar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions regarding this ordinance? Go ahead, Councilman Polisic.
How many years have we utilized them now?
We've had them since I've been here, and I think it was several years before I got here, but I'll let you know that. I'll send you an email and let you know.
And they seem to be performing
Yes.
up to expectations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I have another piece, 1034-2023 iVideo.
Okay, 1034, ordinance number 1034-2023, an emergency ordinance authorizing the clerk of council to enter into an amendment to the agreement with iVideo to authorize additional professional services necessary for the design, implementation, and permanent installation of various components of the video production system to include the Mercedes Cotner Committee Room for Cleveland City Council.
So, Council President, council members, this amendment is to add or change the Mondo pads out from the two that's here. And our other Mondo pads, they're outdated and they are breaking. The other part of this is...
yeah, I don't see it either. I don't see it.
That's because it's for introduction and passage.
Okay.
The other part is service for the microphones that's in here. If you notice, you all see me running in here quite often saying, speaking to the mics. It's because I can't hear you all when we're on YouTube and TV 20. So that's another thing that we're doing with that video, that amendment. So we're looking at servicing these, or if we need to purchase new ones or get new ones, and which way we should go with the new ones.
Okay.
President?
All right, go ahead, Councilwoman Santana.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Through the chair, Vikita, I know that microphones now are just like wireless. And so, because I think one of the things that is very frustrating is all these wires here.
Mhm.
Is that an option? through this grant?
So with this one, through the chair to the councilwoman, with this service, what we'll do is we'll analyze that and see which way is the best way to go with that. One of the proposals I didn't quite like, and we're gonna, see which one is the best.
Okay. And just to add this, one of the things is, for me, it's kind of weird to use the same microphone as others.
I agree.
Everybody else
Mhm.
talking into it at the same time.
Mhm.
So it would be great for us to have our own individual microphones. Okay.
And ones that we can turn off when we need to.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and Ms. Stiggers. I had a residents reach out to me regarding a YouTube channel about not being able to comment on whatever. I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. So not being able to comment while committee hearings are going on. Can you explain the reason behind that when I'm told, and I don't know because I have not researched it yet, that that's a freedom of speech thing and there's a Constitution amendment or there's a Constitution on that we're supposed to allow for comment on any social media. Can you just address that?
Mr. Chairman, through the chair to the council member, I haven't been told that that's a constitutional issue, that allowing citizens to speak on a social platform. Our Facebook page is still open if they want to. Our Twitter page is open, as well as TV20's Facebook page is open. So if they wanted to speak that way, yes. But as far as YouTube, as well as when we were on Zoom, it was our practice not to have comments because of some of the comments that people were leaving. It was our practice not to have comments. And until we're told federally that we have to let someone speak on social media.
All right, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. Stickers, we'll just look into it just to see if we have to or not.
Yes, we'll
All right.
look into it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other Councilman Pelisi.
Yeah. So this, Mr. Chairman, this will not impact the video we're looking at right now from Channel 20 at all, right?
No.
It has nothing to do with the video.
Through the chair to the councilman, no. What this will impact, this upgrade will impact the two Mondo pads here.
Yes.
The Mondo pad in the large conference room, as well as the microphones here.
Okay. So just the video, the voice will be addressed.
So the voice will be addressed. However, the biggest portion of this amendment are the Mondo pads. Because the Mondo pads, as you can tell, this one is out because it's broken. It's no longer served, and they're out of service. They're end of life. As you can see, the notification up there, those are telling you that these are end of life. It runs on a older platform. Yeah.
They don't seem to be that old.
They may not be that old, but technology-wise, they are.
Heaven help us. Technology.
Yes, technology.
The cost of what, Mr. Chairman, the money that we have spent on technology around here is incredible. And it has a very short life, shelf life.
It does.
Very short shelf life. That's incredible. So, okay, I just didn't know if it had anything to do with the video as we're viewing now.
No.
It had any impact on that. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank
Chair
you.
Norther, this will be considered for full passage this evening. Thank you. All right, we'll come back to Conwell's pieces. All right, we have a couple of pieces that were heard by Municipal Services and Properties this morning. So the first one is ordinance number 748-2023 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into an amendment of the June 30th, 2016 Property Operations and Programming Agreement with the Group Plan Commission for Public Square to provide a restricted contribution to support the commission's. Okay. Mr. Director, by request of Councilman McCormick, there's some clarifications that we need to get regarding this group plan piece. So we're going to hold this until he can have a broader conversation with you, okay? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, the next one is ordinance number 817-2023, as amended by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request to amend sections 131.78, 131.79, 401.33, 403.04, 453.01, 453.02, 453.03, 453.04, 455.01, 455.05, 455.07, 455.09, 455.10 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by various ordinances relating to parking rates, parking meters, and municipal parking facilities. Director.
Thank you, Council President. Passage of this legislation is necessary to complete on-street parking, on and off-street parking enhancements. I have Commissioner Director Kim Johnson here with us for a quick presentation, if necessary, and to answer any questions that
Before
you may
we
have.
do that, let me read the amendments into the record because I always want to make sure I do that.
Yes, sir.
There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In Section 1, at amended Section 131.78A1, Willard Park Garage at E, general monthly rate, strike up $200 and insert up to $175. At F1, special monthly rate for city employees, strike the crossed out amount of $55 and up to $65, and insert $55. At K, special event flat rate in conjunction with City Hall Rotunda rental for weekend wedding events only, strike up to $679 and insert up to $600. At 131.78, at 2, Canal Basin at B, special events, weekdays between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., weekends and holidays, flat rate, strike up to $60 and insert up to $50. And at 131.78A3, North Coast Municipal Lot at special events, flat rate, strike up to $70 and insert up to $50. In Section 1, at amended Section 403.04A, line 1, after provided insert herein, and strike lines 5 and 6 in their entirety. In Section 1, at amended Section 553.01B, line 3, after $8 per hour, insert in the downtown parking area, $1 to $4 outside of the downtown parking area, and in Section 453.01C, line 10, strike Sundays and insert Sundays outside of the downtown parking area. Director, Chief, or Director and Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Council President and other council members. We have a brief slide presentation that will show you prior to taking any questions you have regarding this ordinance. So this first slide, this is an attempt just to give you an overview and a summary of what each of these ordinances are. So this first slide gives you a demonstration of the proposed ordinance changes to 131, 78, and 79. And in this example, it shows what we will propose at the Willard Parking Garage. And what is special and noteworthy here is that compared, if a parker parks at the Willard Garage, they will have up to 3 hours prior to reaching the max rate, as opposed to the various parking lots around in the surrounding areas where it's just a little over an hour.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of information.
Real quick, would you?
The amendments are not reflected in here, correct? The amendments that were just offered?
This would not have any impact. This particular slide will not have any impact on the amendment. This would still remain the same.
Okay, thank you.
We're requesting to amend 401.33.33, which is to define a meter under our expanding parking model to include single space, multi-space, and mobile application-based devices. In the next two ordinances, we're requesting to amend the time parking is limited or prohibited from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and to provide the option to limit free parking on Saturdays and Sundays. The amendment would affect this section. Parking will continue to be free on various holidays as listed, including Friday after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas.
Yeah, quick question if, for the council.
Yeah, so just really quick to clarify, currently it's still free Saturdays and Sundays, correct, all day?
No, there is an amendment that was just, in the amendment that was just read, we would be able to have an option to limit free parking on Saturdays and Sundays. But not in the neighborhoods, but in the downtown parking area, we would be able to have the option to limit free parking.
Okay, and then through the chair, going back to the neighborhoods, why wouldn't we do the same thing for the neighborhoods? I'm just curious.
That is an amendment.
That was one of
an
the
amendment.
amendments that was offered because the compromise was in places like Ham's Corner, Detroit Shoreway, Shaker Square, you didn't want to have some of the same restrictions because you're trying to attract people into those areas as opposed to downtown, which has a pretty much built-out crowd. But Councilman Bishop, did you want to, did I articulate that the right way?
Yes, Mr. President, yeah, you explained it correctly. The amendment was for, to give the certain neighborhoods where you can park on Sundays for free. But that would not apply to the downtown business district.
So we tried to, the big debate is, we tried to separate the two because in some areas, we're trying to attract people to come, which it may be a disincentive to charge, whereas other areas, they're already here, they're already attracted. So please proceed.
We're requesting Section A of Ordinance 45301 be amended to remove the reference to street parking adjacent to a meter and establish that vehicles are parked in individual parking spaces within a parking zone. Currently, we have mechanically operated meters in each space. Now we will, with the approval of this ordinance, we will be referring to our areas as zones. We are also requesting to remove reference to payment by deposit of coin and replace with remit payment of parking fee, which will include payment by coin or credit. In Section B, we'll authorize the Director of Public Works to charge and collect fees, set hours of operation, set days of operation, set intervals of time per parking zone, and adjust parking rates based on customer demand. We're proposing to establish on-street parking rates using a three-tier pricing strategy. The first strategy is to establish a base rate of $1.50 per hour for a maximum 2-hour session. This is similar to what you see today. The progressive rate strategy provides an opportunity for a parker to extend their parking session, but at a higher rate. So if a parker is attending a meeting and it runs a little longer than they anticipated, they will have the option to extend their parking session, but they will have to pay a higher rate. We want to encourage all-day parkers to utilize our off-street parking facilities in an effort to support turnover of on-street parking. If someone wants to run in to our downtown parking restaurants to pick up lunch, there should be on-street parking available. The third tier establishes rates for on-street parking during a special event. In this example, if someone wants to visit the Science Center or Rock Hall on a Sunday for a couple of hours when the Cleveland Browns are playing, they could park on street for $10 rather than pay $50 to park in a lot. This next slide just gives some indication as to why we need to increase our parking rates. The Division of Parking Facilities is a small enterprise fund, and as such, we are responsible to function similarly as a private business would operate and utilize our revenues to pay the expenses of the operation. The Division of Parking Facilities is currently being subsidized by the general fund. If you look at this slide, the orange line indicates the expenditures. The blue line indicates the revenue. And although you see from 2018, 2020 kind of reflects COVID times, we're beginning to increase our revenue, but also our expenses are also increasing, and we're just simply not keeping pace with our revenue is not keeping pace with expenses. Some of the things that we would utilize to in our effort to raise additional funds is just to complete some of the improvements to our facilities. In our Willard Garage, where many of you park, you will probably notice that, you know, the lines in the garage, the parking lot, the municipal lot needs resurfacing, the lines need to be improved. We could do with new signage. There needs to be a lighting upgrade. The Willard Garage is a little dark. I'm sure that you guys can see that. And with this, if approved, then it is our intent to utilize some of these revenues to make some improvements in our Willard Garage and our municipal lot. This time we'll accept any questions. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll start out with Councilman Bishop and then Councilman McCormick. I'll put you down.
Yes, Mr. President, we have been vetting this piece of legislation for quite some time. We fully vetted it today, this morning, in Municipal Services, and we recommend for passage along with the amendments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just speaking in support of this ordinance. I want to thank Councilman Bishop for his leadership on this issue, making sure that really a complex bill that involves a lot of different parts of the city was dealt with properly. So I really want to acknowledge Councilman Bishop through his committee process for getting us to where we are today. I think this is we landed on a really good spot that will work for everybody. And I'm just, again, happy that this council did its deliberative job to come to this solution, and thank the administration for also being a part of that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to go back to the amendments, and specifically in Willard Park Garage. So the general monthly rate now would go to what with the amendment? That's section E.
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilman, your question?
E for Willard Park Garage.
Yes.
The recommended amendment for section E.
The recommended amendment for section E of Willard was to amend it from up to $200 to up to $175.
Okay, 175. Okay, then go to the special F for city employees.
The
F.
amendment for Council President to Councilman Polensek, the amendment for F was to actually, it would not change. It would remain at $55.
Okay, so it's going to go recommended $75 a month. Correct?
No.
On that point.
No.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So, but you said there'd be no change on F.
That's correct.
On that point, Mr. Chairman.
Clarification, Councilman, would you allow Councilman Bishop to give you clarification on that?
Yeah, on the amendment here, it says, F, especially monthly rate for city employees, strike the crossed out amount of, and then it says $55 crossed out and up to $60, and insert $55.
Went back to
So it stays the same?
Correct.
Okay, so 75 is, okay, so number 2, special monthly rate for federal, state, and county employees. What's that dollar amount, recommended dollar amount?
There was no change to that. There was no amendment on that.
No amendment offered on that. Okay, so their rate could jump $75 a month for those county, state, and federal employees. Okay. The special events. Excuse me, not special events G. What is that recommended rate?
The G, special
Yes.
events?
Yes.
That was not amended. That rate is up to $60.
Up to $60. So if I'm coming down for an event downtown at Willard Park, you can charge up to $60 now from 30 to 60. Correct?
Council Chair to the Councilman, yes.
Okay. Let me see what else I got here. Special events. Indicate what that recommended amendment amount is.
Special Event K?
Yes.
Candace
Yes.
Willard. That was amended, Council President to the councilman, that was amended from $675 to $600.
$600, okay. And then let me see what else I got here. West Side Market, so you'll get the park for your first 60 minutes is going to be free, correct?
Council President to the councilman, yes.
Okay, and then after that, if I'm there in extended hours, how much is it, each additional hour is up to $3 an hour?
Council President, the councilman, yes.
Okay, so then the maximum rate there could be $20.
Council President, Councilman Chairman, yes.
Yeah.
Councilman
So
Chair.
in the evening, because I have not been there in the evening, how does that work? How does someone pay?
Council President, Councilman, are you talking West Side Market?
Yes, yeah, the West Side parking lot.
It is the same in the evening as it is in the day.
You go to that kiosk?
You can pay via credit card at the column. So you'll put your ticket in that you pulled when you first came in. It'll
Yes.
tell you what your fee is. You insert your credit card for payment.
Okay. And the general monthly rate is going to be what?
Just one second.
D.
Sorry. It wasn't. Just one second, Councilman, I don't have that sheet. Council President, Councilman, it's up to 150.
150. So do merchants get any break on that? The people who are working at the market?
At present, the monthly fee is $75, and it's $75 for everyone.
And so the $75 is going to stay the same for an employee? See, if I'm working at the West Side Market, what am I going to pay if I'm working there all day?
Council President to the councilman, the tenants, businesses in the area.
I'm not talking about businesses. I'm talking about tenants, people who work at the West Side Market, our building.
Are you talking about the City of Cleveland employees?
Yes, and the merchants there
Okay.
that have stalls in the market. What are they going to pay if they're there all day?
So at present, the merchants, the tenants pay $75 per month.
Okay. And that's
and
going to stay,
so-
and that's staying the same.
No, that's not what we're saying.
Councilman Palencic, Councilman McCormick had a point. Would you allow
Yes.
him at that point?
Thank you. The merchants have their own lots?
Yeah,
usually?
I'm aware of that.
Oh, okay,
But,
so
yeah.
that's generally where they park.
But again, I know sometimes people park there, merchants park there. So, and quote-unquote employees park there. So that would be $75. It would not change.
Council President to the councilman, no, that is not correct.
Then what is
There-
correct? Please tell me.
The, at present, just one moment. So, Council President to the councilman, at present, the West Side Market, the strategists, they are working with a nonprofit with regards to all things West Side Market parking lot. And so we are not going to get in front of them with regards to this. They will, at some point in time, determine what the rates are going to be. This would give them some of that flexibility, but that nonprofit is working on that.
Okay.
And they'll be back
Okay.
before this body.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, are the revenues from the West Side Market parking lot, are they going back to the market?
Council President, to the councilman, there is a section in the ordinance right now that allows a portion of the Hicks lot, the net profit from the Hicks lot, to go back to capital expenses in the parking lot, capital expenses at the West Side Market. However, we are recovering from our time with COVID when we
Yes.
were open the same 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yes.
We've had a couple of major equipment where customers have just kind of barreled through and ran over our equipment, and we've had to replace that a couple of
Yes.
times. So although it is here that would happen, we just have not had an opportunity to experience it because of the expenses that we've incurred.
Okay. Well, I understand we have expenses. That's a given on all of our lots. Willard Park, I've seen people drive through the Willard Park gates, okay? So that's nothing new here. What I want to make sure from my engagement with the merchants there and going over there, and I appreciate Councilman McCormick's engagement and his passion, but I personally believe, as I stated to you, Commissioner, I personally believe the revenue from the parking lots there should go to the market. I think it should go to the market because they're the ones that plow the snow. They're the ones that take care of it. So, I want to restate that. If the revenue from the parking lots at the market, outside of our expenses, outside of the expenses, any expenses that we have to incur, I believe that revenue should go to the market. That's my opinion. And I think that, council did its best stepping up to the plate to try to direct ARPA funds there. We would have liked to be able to direct more, but our limitations here. But if the parking, the market is generating the parking, or the businesses around the market are generating the parking. So then I don't see why that parking, that dollar should not go to the West Side Market to support the operation of the market. That's my opinion, and I'll make a motion to that effect if need be.
Can make a point from Councilman McCormick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agreed completely with the councilman, and that is a part of the conversation, of the ongoing conversations between the city and the Public Market Corporation when they get into that lease agreement, is to drive some of that revenue to the market. So very much a part of those conversations.
So should you want me not to do the motion or
A motion to,
direct the revenue from the West Side Market parking lots?
I know that is going to be a part of the negotiation with the city.
Yeah,
and the
let's let that
nonprofit.
negotiation take place because it's
Okay.
too tenuous
Okay.
now between that nonprofit
Okay.
and the other one.
Okay, then I'll back off and I'll let that negotiate, but I just want the administration to know that working with my colleague, I'm prepared to support him or put in an ordinance to that effect. The market needs the assistance, and the revenue generated by that facility, we're asking that the revenue from Willard Park Garage stay here. We're asking for the revenue from the Muni lot stay here. So I think it's important that the revenue from the market stay at the market. That, to me, is just common sense approach to help that facility out and take less burden off the city in the long run. So, Mr. Chairman, I understand, you know what my position has been on these parking rates. I want to see people come downtown. I want to see people partake of our facilities. And it's been a historic position of the council that we're not here to hose the consumer or our residents coming downtown to visit whatever it may be with other city facility. And the only other concern I want to express here, these are always up to. In the day, we would set the rate. This legislative body would set the rate. Now, I'm going to have to assume because you have up to going through here, that you're going to probably gyrate to the higher rate here for all these these parking rates. And just because you're coming downtown for a Browns game or for a Guardians game or whatever it may be, or the Cavaliers, I don't believe people should be getting hosed, okay? That's my opinion on these parking rates. You come down here with, it's almost impossible to come down to this city to visit an event if you have kids. It's almost impossible. The cost, we're making it very difficult. And I'm just going to say this to the administration. I'm asking you to keep that in this, if we're going to keep that provision in here, you got to keep that in your mindset here. I got a thing about families with kids, trying to track families down here, trying to track people who are on fixed incomes or Social Security. We can't be sticking it to them. But I know we have costs. I'm trying to balance that. We have costs. We've got to maintain these facilities. And no one around this table is saying other than that. We've got to maintain it. But I'm saying to the administration, you got to be mindful. We cannot make it so difficult where people say, screw it, I'm going to just go to the suburbs. I'm going to go to where there's free parking. I'm going to go to this event where it's someplace else. And I want to stress that through the chair as well, because we've all been talking about this. We want to make sure that we're not adversely affecting what we want to see happen in the city, is people coming downtown supporting our events and our venues here. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And just to let you know, that was why this was so much give and take and so much tug and pull. The one thing that has changed significantly in getting insight from McCormick, there's also a letter that was submitted by the Downtown Cleveland Alliance, is that there's more residential than it has been in the past. So a lot of times the residential residents park in these spaces and don't move, which still impairs people coming from the neighborhoods. But to your point, Councilman Bishop was very, very intentional. And the reason why we probably held this about 3 or 4 different times is because we were trying to find that balance.
And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate what our Chairman Bishop did, because he heard the concerns of the body. He's very much concerned about his own constituents being able to come downtown. So I appreciate the time that he took. I just want to read first the administration. When you're saying up to, that we don't climb the ladder on every one of these rates. Because at that point, I think there's going to be pushback from the body. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I totally agree. Thank you, Councilman. I have Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Chairman Bishop and the committee for hearing the piece and making the amendments this morning. I have a couple of technicalities. We need to make some amendments to one of the amendments, but a wording matter. And then I have a second amendment to one of the amendments. So may I proceed with making a motion to?
We could, if you could make sure we explain them so we can.
Of course. Okay, this is actually per our law department flagged this for us. Again, Councilman Slife worked on this morning, and Councilman Casey was so kind as a member of the Municipal Services and Properties Committee to make the amendments. So the, just kind of, this is cleanup language, but essentially the following should be added to Section 1. In Section 453.01B, related to parking regulations and parking meter zones, we need to add 2 words, the words per hour after $1 on the second line, and add per hour after both $1 and $4 on the third line. So that would be, it's just adding the words per hour. That was omitted from the amendment this morning, so it's sort of a clarification.
Mr. Roberts, do you have both of those? I do. All right, I need a second on those amendments.
Second.
Councilman Casey has seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no hearing, no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment carries. Thank you, Council Lady.
And actually have another amendment to the amendment to the amendment. Okay. Councilman Slife, when we were working on this last week with the administration and in discussion, we would like to change the $4 outside of the downtown parking area to $5 outside of the downtown parking area. So that's the second amendment.
All right, so
Yes.
could you restate that, because a couple of people down here had questions and want to make sure they
Sure.
understand it.
The amendment that was made this morning was a really important amendment to differentiate the maximum range outside of the downtown parking area. And we had discussed extensively that it would be $1 per hour to $4 or to $5 per hour. But when the amendment was made this morning, the amendment stated $4 to $4 per hour. So putting another amendment on the table to increase the maximum outside the downtown parking area to $5 per hour.
So it's increasing.
It's increasing, the maximum outside the downtown parking area.
Okay, so is there a second for that amendment? Second. Okay, so there's been a motion put on the floor to second, that's been seconded, to increase the amount in the community or the neighborhoods from 4 to 5. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Polinsky.
So right now, do we have a defined geographical area? Because downtown, is it defined within the amendment?
It is defined in the ordinance.
Okay. Now, so then in the quote-unquote neighborhoods where there are meters, that we're talking about meters, correct?
Yes.
The maximum amount would be $5 being proposed.
Is that what you're proposing?
If you were to park there all day.
It increases the range the range would be $1 per hour to $5 per hour outside of the downtown parking area.
$5 per hour?
Yes, outside. And the amendment that was made this morning was $4 per hour.
Okay, and those areas would be defined in concurrence with the administration and the council member, correct, those areas?
If I understand, and this can be through the chair to the administration, this is the whole model here is the data-driven parking pricing. So it does not automatically increase meters to $5 per hour. It would be an iterative process, but it's putting this up front in the legislation. Originally, the administration asked for $1 to $8 per hour everywhere.
Yes, I understand.
So this amendment clarifies that outside of downtown, it can be no more than $5 per hour. I don't know if the administration has further comment about that.
But what I think Councilman Polinsky is asking is slightly different. What he's saying is, if you make that determination, and I think Councilwoman did try to clear it up a little bit, but what he's saying is, where does the council person get engaged before you make that incremental increase going to 5?
So, Council President, to the councilman, in the prior ordinance, it is in that ordinance that we are required, when we're coming into your neighborhood, we're starting in the Central Business District, and then we will spread out. And when we come to your neighborhood to do anything that changes anything, that we are to reach out to the council person and have that conversation. So you'll know where we're proposing, where we're proposing to put meters at in the home 9. We're going to come out and have a conversation with you about that.
Mr. Chairman, it's just not have a conversation. It was my understanding that you'd have to get concurrence from the council person to install those meters in the neighborhood or commercial district, correct?
Well,
wait, no.
When we come out, I'm not quite certain how it says it, but in my mind, as the Commissioner for Division of Parking Facilities, when we come out and have that conversation with the council person says, no, I don't want a meter in that area, then one doesn't go in that area.
Well, that's what I want to hear, okay? Because I want to make that very clear. You're not installing a parking meter in my neighborhood without my concurrence.
That is correct.
And that's what I'm hearing, correct, Mr. Chairman?
That is what, that council president to the council.
Okay, just so there's no confusion here at the table. I want to make sure there's absolutely no confusion there. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Santana.
Okay, I just want to clarify this. So at the parking meter, through the chair, it's up to 2 hours that you could park at a meter, correct? There's a max 2 hours?
Council President to the Councilwoman, yes.
Yes, okay.
That is
So
correct right now.
what Councilwoman Spencer is proposing, that if we park there for 2 hours, it's going to be $10 rather than $8, no?
So, in the, part of what we're proposing and our thoughts are, in the Central Business District, we would have the rate be $1.50 per hour, but in the neighborhoods, it would be $1. So if someone parked for 2 hours, it would cost them $2.
Okay. So through the chair,
But in terms of any special event type of activities or anything where we were progressing, depending upon what's going on in your particular neighborhood, we would have the flexibility to go up to $5, according to the ordinance that the Councilwoman is proposing now.
so through the chair, and maybe this is to Spencer, or maybe you could answer it. So it's only at special events. So if I go to Detroit Shoreway and I'm trying to go into a restaurant, through the chair, how much am I paying for 2 hours at a parking meter?
So, Council President to the Councilwoman, if we are doing straight rates, a base rate, it would be $1. If we determined that we needed to do some progressive rate to try to do some turnover or something like that, then we would have the flexibility to, just similar to what you saw on the screen, where they would pay an additional fee if they needed to progress rate. But if there was a special event in your area, then we would also have the ability to move rates up to the $5.
Got it. Okay.
Council President, can I have a point, or Councilwoman Santana, a point on that?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, and I think this is a great opportunity to clarify. I know it's been explained, but the 2-hour time period, if you're there for 2 hours, I think my neighborhood is a great example. If you're in Detroit Shoreway, Gordon Square, and you're seeing a theater production, you're going to need longer than 2 hours. So through the chair, how would that work for you to park in a zone but have more than 2 hours of allowable time?
So, Council President to the Councilwoman, when we come into your neighborhood and begin and have conversations with you about things of that nature, if there was that type of an event, perhaps that would require maybe a special event rate, so that the persons who are going to that particular event, they don't have to worry about extending the time. We would just set a rate. Maybe we're going to say instead of the $1, maybe it's $3 for them to park, or maybe it's $2 for them to park during the session. We will have the ability to change the rate and change the time through the technology that's being offered through this equipment.
So through the chair, the 2-hour time frame is not mandated. That's also flexible, depending on neighborhood need and use.
That is correct.
That is, and is there ability through the app, through the chair, to extend time on your space?
Yes, that is correct as well.
So even if through the chair, sorry, I'm so glad you brought it up, Councilwoman, because it's so important. So you're using this app, it's, let's say, for sake of this example, it's 2-hour parking zone. If you know you're having a great time because you will be in our neighborhoods, you want to stay longer, how do you extend the time on your space within the zone?
So you would use the mobile application to go in and apply for extended time. What happens with the benefit and the beauty of this technology is that you'll get a notification that your parking time is about to expire. And it'll give you that notice and then offer, if you're within that time, it'll give you the option to be able to extend the time, to extend your parking session.
What's her name?
Great. And then may I make one more point, Councilwoman?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, again, using my neighborhood as an example, I think that's why it's so important that I think I can speak for members of the body that we look forward to working with you because every neighborhood is unique. And I don't actually think of the arts and other activities in my neighborhood as special events. It's just the character of the neighborhood. So it's just things like that would be really, we look forward to collaborating to understand neighborhood characteristics and appropriately price the parking.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you. And just my last question, I know that there's actually signs that are up that says you could park up to 2 hours only. Are those going to be taken, removed?
So there is an entire, the app-based partner that we have in Park Mobile. Part of the beauty of entering into partnership with them is that they are going to assist us with signage that let people know about which zone they're in. And so we'll be making modifications. We're working very closely with the Division of Traffic and Engineering, Commissioner Rob Mavac. And so we're working together to make certain that our parkers understand and know what the rules of engagement are when they park. We want to make certain that, we're doing this to make parking easier, and so we certainly want to make certain that the signage, all of our marketing and communication assist our parkers in that regard as well.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion on the motion that was proffered? Councilman Conwell.
Thank you very much. You guys are going to do, through the chair, outreach. You mentioned earlier to the residents to let our board of directors know, what we're doing, because this is a lot. And it's a lot to remember. I think that to the chair, with me, I would like to be able to put it in my newsletter so that my residents will know what's going on before you implement these rate hikes. Okay?
Through the chair to the council person, we'll definitely work with you on that. And we're also working with TV 20 for some spots as well.
Okay. Reach out to Joan Mezzaline, and we'll put it in the newsletters. So we're going to start executing on this when, to the chair? If it passed.
Council President, to the councilman, we are engaged with Park Mobile now. We're working with them and once this passes, then we'll be able to solidify real dates for real implementation dates once this passes.
So, like, through the chair, see us, let's say, for example, if this passed, the adverb if,
Hold on, Councilman, while they confer.
All right,
go ahead, please consider.
Let's say, for example, 60 days, you do your marketing, because you don't want it to pass, and then tomorrow, here's the rate hikes. I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe, let's say it passed, and you say by the first of the year, or whatever the case may be. I'm just throwing something out there. You start letting people know. You do a campaign to let people know that this is coming, so they talk about it. Then here it is, through the chair to the director.
Yes.
You think?
So, and Council President to the councilman, one of the beauties is that our first phase of this work will be with Park Mobile, who is the mobile application.
I got you.
And the mechanical units that are currently on the ground right now will still be there because it's going to take a longer time to engage the kiosks. So we will be working with the public all along and trying to communicate with them so that they'll understand, and we'll be taking them through that process. But they'll be able to have the flexibility of that application right away. And then we'll continue to help them along so that when we're ready with the kiosks, which is going to take maybe about 6 months before we can get those, our customers will be well acquainted with the application, be adjusted to the modernization and the technology of the technology that these kiosks could provide.
You know, when you have a demonstration one through the chair, you have a demonstration one, is that correct? That you could bring to my community meetings every third Thursday. You bring the demonstration there, you tell them about it. The block club presidents, street club presidents are there, and you show them.
Council President to Councilman, I'll work with you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Santana, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. All right, so we've had discussion. You got something? You got?
Not on the amendment, but.
Okay. All right, so on the amendment, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Casey, you had a question regarding this?
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, if these rates pass, how much more revenue do you plan on generating through the division in the increased rates?
Council President, Councilman, I previously talked about Desmond, who is our partner, and they have a lot of rich history, and they're projecting that our revenues would increase by 45%.
Is that enough, Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner and the Director? Is that enough to cover the deficit that this department is currently carrying? I mean, for the last 5 years, you guys have been running at a deficit anywhere from $225,000 to $750,000. So will these parking rate adjustments offset that, and will the department start not needing to rely on the general fund to subsidize it?
Through the chair to the council person, this first initial step will get us to a level set place, I believe, because I think we're a little bit behind as it relates to the industry. But I do hope that this offset gets us closer in that area, but I think it's a little early to tell, especially even with the new amendments that we just added today. So I would like to be able to take a look at that once we get our first year of data to really see where we are as it relates to the special events and how the market is actually reacting as well.
All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad this came to the table, because it does throw up the flag that, just like Highland Golf Course was running at a deficit, the market was running at a deficit. We need to look at this and see if we can continue to subsidize it, and hopefully these rates help stabilize the department where it's not being subsidized by the general fund. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, do we have any? Councilman McCormick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to quick shout out, thank the director, but most especially Assistant Director Johnson, who's a rock star, one of the best public service servants that we have in the city, and worked a whole great deal on getting this ordinance through. So I just want to recognize her.
Thank you. And I just want to double down on that. This ordinance was really a doozy. There's a lot of meetings, and Commissioner Johnson really stuck in there like the trooper that she always is. So I want to commend you as well.
Thank you.
Just want to let you guys know the balance, and I want to commend Councilman. He stepped out, Councilman Bishop as well. Kind of the challenge, which was more challenging about this, is how do you actually balance making downtown welcoming, affordable to those families and people that Polensek is talking about, but also, as Councilman McCormick and others saying, adapt to the new day where a lot of residents are living downtown and taking up spaces. So how do we rotate and, make sure that we move that around. And then last but not least, trying to make sure that, like Councilman Casey just said, make sure that we can float the department with the revenue that we bring in. So it was a lot of balancing that took place. I can tell you, as with everything, there's going to be some people that's going to grumble and say, that downtown is too expensive, but we do have to make business decisions as well as political decisions.
Yes,
so thank you all so much, and appreciate you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Ordinance, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 817-2023 as amended stands approved. Here you go. All right. The next one is Is this you, Ms. DeGenero? Ordinance number 897?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, ordinance number 897-2023 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to execute various deeds of permanent and temporary easements that will grant to the Ohio Department of Transportation certain easement rights to rehabilitate a culvert under Chagrin Boulevard at the Highland Park Golf Course and declaring the easement rights not needed for the city's public use.
Thank you. The legislation authorizes the sale of 3 easements to ODOT for the rehabilitation of this culvert. The culvert carries Mill Creek under Chagrin Boulevard, just north of the city's Highland Park Golf Course, and Mill Creek then daylights when it reaches the golf course. The project is being completely funded by ODOT. The 3 easements that are required by ODOT are a permanent highway easement to construct a concrete head wall for the culvert, a permanent channel easement to install rock channel protection, which will prevent stream erosion, and a temporary construction easement for a duration of 18 months for access and grading purposes. The sale of the easements is at appraised value of $6,000. Access to the project site will be from Chagrin Boulevard only and will not impact golf course activities. Upon the completion of construction, the site will be restored to pre-construction conditions. And in 2016, I want to mention the Regional Sewer District completed a complete restoration of Mill Creek within the golf course, and the city and Ohio EPA entered into an environmental covenant in connection therewith. The proposed easements will actually overlap the environmental covenant area, and Ohio EPA has agreed to that. ODOT has also agreed to plant, to replace any trees that are impacted by the project and to plant additional trees similar in species to the trees that were planted as part of the stream restoration project. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Councilman Bishop, did you have anything to add to this?
Mr. Chairman, we vetted this morning, fully supported.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions regarding ordinance number 897-2023? Seeing no questions, ordinance number 897-2023 stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, Mr. Cole is still here. I guess this is, you guys, ordinance number 1016-2023? Y'all have what, a pay ban ordinance? Do we have that? Ms. Jimenez? Introduction and passage? Okay, this is what I have. Let me show you. Hold up, this may be, no. This is for head usher, law clerk, organ tuner. Is that you? Okay. This is you.
How many organ tuners?
I thought you said this was CPPA.
That's on there too for the cadets, it should be.
Oh, got it. See it.
How many organ tuners do we have?
School crossing guard, student aid assistant, student trainee, water distribution.
I asked them all, but I didn't get a response yet.
All right, let's go through this. All right, this is for introduction and passage, consideration for passage tonight. This is ordinance number 1016-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend sections 45 and 55 of ordinance number 194-2021 passed March 29, 2021 as amended relating to salaries for various classifications. Director. Ms. Long, Director, whoever.
Yes, I'm sorry. Through the chair to council members, we are requesting pay ban amendments for sections 45 and 55. We are amending the head usher, law clerk, organ tuner to $15.33, which is the minimum as opposed to $15. We are adding the student aid back in at 1533 to 1750. And then lastly, for section 55, we are amending the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association trainees to 2440, which is going to be 83% of the patrol officer 4 rate, as outlined in the MOU for CPPA.
Okay, and this was just negotiated, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And do we know, or do we have a bottom line of the total cost that this can potentially be? What is the bottom line of the total cost? Let me give you an example. Can you give me an estimate of how many trainees we anticipate having? And then how much is that times 2440 to kind of help us understand the bottom line? And we didn't budget for it this year, so is this mainly for next year or what?
So for the second quarter, which was April through June, through council chair to council members, we had 92 individuals on the eligibility list for patrol officer. So for third quarter, it's ongoing. Right now, we have 244 applicants, but I mean, you know, we have to go through our process to see who is going to meet the minimum requirements, and then we will have a better idea. So, you know, on average, I would say between 77 to 100 will be on the eligibility list, and then, I mean, there's no way to project really.
So an average around 1.5
I'll
or
say
so?
on the safe side, 25.
25, okay, all right. Okay, all right. Anything else to add, Director?
No.
That's good with that? Okay, all right. Any questions regarding ordinance number 1016-2023? All right, seeing no questions regarding ordinance number 1016-2023 stands approved. It will be considered for passage this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is Resolution 874-2023 by Councilmember Conwell, an emergency resolution urging the Board of Trustees at Cleveland State University College of Law to consider renaming the law school after African-American lawyer Charles Hamilton Houston. Councilman Conwell.
Thank you very much. I know that the university been asking some questions. The guy is not a resident. He didn't live in the area. But you know what? They didn't say that about John Marshall and a couple of other people that's named over there in the, at Cleveland State University. But you want to get technical when someone says Charles Hamilton Houston. John Marshall was not from the city of Cleveland. However, the people that when he was pushing slavery, some of their people probably migrated to the city of Cleveland and has probably touched it some kind of way. But now you want to say that the person is not from the city of Cleveland. Here's the thing about Charles Hamilton Houston. We were looking at also Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall was not from the city of Cleveland. However, Charles Hamilton Houston helped to cultivate, and he was a mentor to Thurgood Marshall. Charles Hamilton Houston was born in, I'm looking at 1895 in my mind, and he is a graduate from Harvard University. And when Charles Hamilton Houston was hired in to Howard University, from Harvard to Howard University, the School of Howard Law School was not accredited. But what Charles Hamilton Houston did, he worked with and he cultivated the young African Americans so that the school would be accredited. He also took young African Americans down south and he fought against Jim Crow, which affects the city of Cleveland. And he showed students like Thurgood Marshall and the other African American law students how to fight against Jim Crow. And he showed them the law of the land was separate. When they said separate but equal, but it was separate but unequal. Hamilton Houston took them around the South to show them the abject poverty that my people, African Americans, were living in. He showed them that we didn't even have books. and you saying separate but equal. He showed them that it was raining inside of the schools, and they fought for that. Charles Hamilton Houston cultivated and made Thurgood Marshall into a fighter. And he was one of the greatest Supreme Court justice. But this man here, Charles Hamilton Houston, cultivated him and showed him the way we should be doing people now as elders. We should be working with the young people, and that's what he did. He died. He didn't get a chance. He died Charles Hamilton Houston is the he. He died 4, maybe 5 years before the Brown versus Board of Education happened. But many of the lawyers, African-American lawyers, that he helped to cultivate, helped to win that landmark decision and argue in front of the Supreme Court. He cultivated them, many of the lawyers, which benefit today the city of Cleveland and throughout the nation. This man also, in the NAACP, when the NAACP back, when it was first started in 1909, during the Niagara movement, would not hire any African Americans as lawyers. But Charles Hamilton Houston said, no, you're going to have to hire African Americans to represent the NAACP. They'll do better representing us. And he cultivated. That's the thing, you must work with the young. So I'm asking council, in the spirit of Charles Hamilton Houston, to support this resolution, and then I will talk with Lee Fisher also. I'm not afraid to talk with him. I'll talk with him about Charles Hamilton Houston and other things that's going on over there in the law department. Thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions from this city council.
Thank you. Did anybody have any questions regarding Councilman Conwell? Seeing no other questions, what's that ordinance number, Kim?
874.
874-2023 stands approved. Thank you. Please sign on. The next one is resolution number 894-2023, as amended by Councilman Conwell, an emergency resolution declaring the month of October as Women in the Arts Month annually in the city of Cleveland to celebrate and support the valuable contributions made by Cleveland's and America's women artists, and urging the United States Congress to declare October as National Women in the Arts Month. And the amendment is, there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In the first whereas clause, line 2, strike era, its impact, and insert era that. And number 2, in the third whereas clause, line 3, strike ways and insert ways and. Number 3, in section 2, line 3, strike the last line in its entirety and insert Johnson Assembly for the Arts, Chantel Brown, United States Representative, and Sherrod Brown, United States Representative. Amendments were made by Stephanie Melnick on 8/28/23. Councilman Conwell?
Amendments were made by who, Mr.
Ms.
President?
Melnick, Stephanie Melnick, the attorney in the law department.
I got you. So let me see what, you got a copy of it? Thank you, Counselor. Give me one quick second to process real quick. In the third whereas clause, strike ways, insert ways. Okay, I got that. In the first whereas clause, strike to err. Okay, I got that. I'm cool. You know, growing up, I always run around the arts. You know, I go to sleep thinking of music. I wake up thinking of music, either that or legislation. They're both, you have to have a creative mind to do both. You know, you wake up sometime in the middle of the night, you might write some music. You wake up, you might look at some policy to write that, whatever the case may be. So, but put that over here. Growing up as a kid, way before your time, Councilman Anthony Harrison, the teachers would tell young ladies, sorry about that, they would say, I want to play the drums. And I remember many of the teachers would steer, the arts teachers would steer young females away from certain masculine. They would say, oh, this instrument is too masculine for you playing the drums. And that's why all the time, majority of the time in the bands, you would see men playing drums and then playing the percussion instruments. And some, I would hear young ladies say, I want to play, but they were steered away from it. They were steered to instruments like the clarinet or the flute or the saxophone. Women should be able to play with anything and everything they want to do. And they should be exposed to it just as much as men are exposed to things. It's similar to when you look at sports, when all the males they received millions and millions of dollars. Council President, you played football for male athletes, but the women got nothing. Nothing at all. And so we should, I'm asking this council that throughout the city of Cleveland in October, that we show and we celebrate, and not just celebrate right now what's going on when you celebrate women in the arts. You show during Black History Month, you talk about Marian Anderson or Aretha Franklin, or during Black History Month, or Women History Month in March, you might show some women in the arts. No, they need their own month. And it doesn't need to be the coldest day in the year. It need to be where October 31st, they have 31 days, because they have done a lot of things, and that we can just focus on females and you focus on them in the schools, and that even young males and young boys see that there's famous drummers and violin players and piano players that are females, so that you learn to appreciate that more and you study them in the arts. And I ask this council in the city of Cleveland, even next year when it starts, that we have certain activities to show and promote women in the arts. The first person that's over the arts in the city of Cleveland is Rhonda Brown, a female. Young girls need to see success every single day. And when you point to the arts, they're seeing that. And the arts teaches character, it teaches self-discipline, it teaches self-esteem, it teaches organizational skills. These are the things and the avenues that we need to open up. So I ask this council to support this. I'm going to reach out to Shontel Brown, as well as Senator Brown, to ask them to even push this nationally, because they need their own month, and we need to respect that they have their own month. And I'm looking at that month, it's October. It can be changed, whatever the case may be, but at least you throw it out on the table. And we research, and there's no Women in the Arts Month at all. They just share it with other holidays. But they need to have this, and I ask council to support this legislation. And thank you very, very much. And as I always say, you got to walk it like you talk it, or you lose that beat. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to Councilman Conwell, I just have one question. Is there a significance to the Women in Arts and the month of October? Or was it just chosen?
It was just chosen.
All right.
There's no significance to it. I'm just throwing it out there so that once we roll the dice, or we put the cards out on the table, Councilman, if, because it's up to the women, they can have it in June or July, whatever the case may be.
I only ask because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Oh.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month, Italian Heritage Month, Developmental Disability Month. So I wouldn't want women in the arts to get
caught up in the middle of that.
To just get lost in the shuffle for the month of October. So I was just wondering if it was chosen for any reason.
You know what we could do is we could hold it, give it back over to Rhonda Brown, since she's there, have her take a look at it, and if she could talk with other female organizations.
I want to find a significant event.
Yeah. We could do that, because I'm just throwing the cards out there. I believe that it should be there. But I hear you, Councilman. We hold it, we give it to her. She talked with the other groups, and then they come back and say, hey, this is where we at.
So you want to hold it?
Yeah, we can hold it, and then.
All right. So
I'm
we'll
saying
hold
yeah.
it, and,
I'm in my musician mode when I say yeah, so sorry about that.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hold it, and this will be heard once we get feedback from them. So 894-2023 will be held, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That is it for legislation as of right now. Therefore, this Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is adjourned. See everybody this evening at 7 o'clock sharp.